Good morning. Happy Thursday for real. Yesterday I came on and I was like, happy Thursday. And as I turned that video off, I realized it was not Thursday, it was actually Wednesday. So I'm sure that's how some of our days have been going. Things kind of run into each other and, we lose track of time and space. So welcome to Lee Health's Healthcare Heroes Self-Care Moment. If you're watching today, you can drop in the comments what department you're in or where you're watching from, so we know where you're watching from, even if you're watching the replay. It's just so nice to be here on this beautiful Thursday. It's actually a little cooler outside when I went for my run. So what I wanted to share today is I read this article yesterday, and it talked about like things that you can do to take care of yourself during the pandemic. And the first thing that the person said was, double the amount of meditation you're doing. And I know some of you that are watching are like, well, I don't really meditate at all, right? So just little bits and introducing it can be a really big deal. Morning, Molly. And then my friends that do meditate are like, I had to meditate like 4 times today. So we get it, right? When you start to have that tool, it is something that you can tap into. So even if you just take those moments like we talked about yesterday to just kind of get quiet and notice and feel, that is part of meditation, right? And when you allow yourself to do that, we signal to our body that it can start to relax. The other thing that the article said was to double your self-care. And I thought, well, this is our self-care moment. This is a really good time to talk about what are some other ways that we can take care of ourselves. So one of them is movement. So we're gonna start with some movement here. Just start with some circles. I do start most of my classes with this movement because it's a good way of opening up the hips, grounding down the energy, making ourselves feel a little bit more comfortable. So just let yourself move around here. If you're hitting the back of your chair, you can scoot forward a little bit. And take a couple deep breaths. So one of the biggest things that we can do for self-care is movement, and whether that is going for a walk, going to do a workout, right? We can do workouts online, or going for a run, whatever it is. Even just playing with your kids sometimes can mean a lot of movement. So what that does is, again, it starts to get all these good feelings moving in our body. Let's change directions. So we get these endorphins and we start to feel a little more comfortable. One of the other things that we can do that's pretty easy to take care of is how we eat, right? So coming back up here and just bring your elbows back, your shoulders back, and just start to turn your head side to side. Now I know it's been really easy to eat a lot of junk during this time, but we have to think about the energy of what we're putting in our bodies. So if we're putting stuff that's really, really processed and not very pure, it's gonna make us feel really, really processed and not very pure. So when we start to put things like whole foods, fruits and veggies, things like that, it's easier for our body to digest physically, but also energetically. So just think about that, keep that in mind. Even if you can just add a couple more fruits and veggies into your diet throughout the week. All right, and then bringing your arms up again, we're gonna inhale and press those shoulders back, the elbows back. Exhale and bring them back in. So opening, good, and closing, opening and closing, good. Drinking water, that's gonna be the next thing that we're gonna talk about as far as self-care. And I know we get this kind of drilled at us at all angles, but again, water is gonna be something that helps us to detoxify our body. And even if you're eating healthy, and you're doing all the right things, you're still gonna have those toxins, right? Because we're still taking in things from our environment, we're taking in things just from stress. So water is gonna help to wash all that out. It also keeps us hydrated and makes us feel good and keeps everything working well. And that's gonna tie into our next self-care thought. And that is that, I'm gonna come out of this one, roll your shoulders onto your back. And that is sleep. I've talked a lot about sleep on my Facebook page. I talk a lot about the importance of sleep because it is for me, it's the pathway to illness, right? If I don't sleep well, and I'm sure a lot of you are like, yes, I don't sleep well, right? When we don't sleep well, it throws everything off in our body. We feel off, we can feel sick. It can cause us to be more vulnerable to getting sick. So let's reach up and over here. So ways that we can get ourselves into a better sleep pattern are allowing ourselves less time on electronics before bed. Something I talked about with one of my friends is if you're gonna drink, you can drink well before you go to bed. So there's happy hours at, usually like 5 o'clock, right? That is more of an optimal time to have a drink so that your body can process it and you don't go to bed processing that alcohol. And if you can avoid it, then that's even better. So just stretching up through the side body. Another thing is not eating too close to when you go to sleep, right? Coming up with a sleep ritual. And that sleep ritual can be maybe you have a cup of tea before bed, or you say, I'm gonna read my book before bed. And you get yourself into that place of just slowly getting your mind and your body ready to slow down. And all these things you can kind of try out and see what works for you. For me, I like to take a bath sometimes if I'm feeling really like it's gonna be hard to fall asleep. Taking a bath, it just gets your body temperature to come down a little, which also is something that happens when we sleep. So it makes us sleepier. It allows us to get into that place. You can do things like bath salts and baking soda, which is another detox method, right? That's gonna help us to find that sleep as well. So lots of fun ideas. I'm gonna check my list here because I made a list to make sure I got everything on here. Okay, so now we're gonna get into some other things. The next thing that you can do for self-care, because remember, we're gonna try and up our self-care this week, is saying no to others so that you can say yes to you. And I'm gonna say that again, saying no to others so that you can say yes to you, right? Think about that for a minute. Take a couple breaths here. It's a little bit harder right now, especially if we're home or our schedules are off and different, but trying to make space so that you can say yes to you, even if it just means going in your room and spending a few minutes just breathing, right? Making it so that you do have a little downtime somehow, even if you have to, coordinate with your neighbors, but allowing yourself that space to really pause and refresh. There was something I was thinking about when I read that was that when we're on a plane, right, and they go through that whole spiel at the beginning where they're like, okay, now if there's a sudden drop in pressure, there's going to be this oxygen mask that comes down, and we all know, right? It says first put that oxygen mask on yourself and before you help others, right? So think about it like that. We need to give ourselves that oxygen. We need to put that oxygen mask on ourselves so that we can help other people. And I know a lot of us with really big hearts, and I'm one of those people. I know a lot of you, especially working in healthcare, are those big heart people that want to help. And we think, oh, it's okay, I got this, I'm a helper, I can do this, right? But what happens is we start to lose our oxygen, we start to lose consciousness, we start to lose our healthiness, our vitality, and then we start to feel really, really horrible, right? And that doesn't allow us to help other people. So remembering, and that's why this self-care thing is so important, to give yourself that oxygen mask first, right? We've all heard that that saying, if you can't pour from an empty cup, we need to refill. It's the same idea, right? When we put our oxygen mask on first, we get this power, this energy, this strength so that we can serve others and take care of others. All right, so from here now, we're gonna sit up nice and tall and just start to move our head now. So let's go side to side, right ear to right shoulder and left ear to left shoulder. Just thinking about some ways that maybe you can bring in a little extra self-care, especially as we move towards the weekend. So noticing here how your body feels. And as I started this video, we talked a little bit about even doubling your meditation. So I know, again, like I said at the beginning, not everybody that's watching this is a daily meditator, and that's okay, right? Because we have these mindful practices that we can start to bring in a little bit of our breath, a little bit of our observation, and that becomes a meditation. So bring your right ear to your right shoulder here. Take your right hand to the outside of your head, maybe towards your ear, and just give yourself a little stretch. You can drop your left arm down, turn your palm forward, and just breathe. inhaling and exhaling, and just right here as you're in this, just noticing how this feels, the side of your neck, the shoulder, the way the air feels on your body. This can be part of your meditation. That's it. And then come on out and move your head a few times side to side. And then we'll bring the left ear to the left shoulder and hold it there, taking your left hand to the side of your head. From there, you can drop your right arm, turn your palm forward, and just stretch and breathe. So the last part of upping our self-care is one that I'm a big fan of, and that is getting out of the house. So that can mean a couple things. It can mean getting out into nature. Nature, just being out in nature in open air, maybe even getting into grass or something, or onto the sand. It helps us to start to reconnect with the earth, right? It helps us to get from here into here, and maybe even all the way down into our seat to feel a little bit more comfortable. It can also mean here that we just get out of the house and maybe you go in the car by yourself for a few minutes and listen to whatever music makes you happy. I told the story the other day about how my daughter was, in the beginning of quarantine, having a really, really bad day, and so we just got in the car and we rolled down all the windows and we turned on Casey Musgrave's Christmas album, and we drove slow through our neighborhood. And there's just something about the breeze on your face and music that helps us to just feel replenished, right? So as we close now and we start to turn within, we are going to practice a little bit of that meditation. And I know that sometimes when we say meditate, it gets really, you're like, oh God, your heart starts to beat a little. I can't do this. I'm not a meditator. But meditation is really just allowing yourself to practice that mindfulness, right? Mindfulness being paying attention on purpose in the moment, letting go of that judgment, and letting yourself be. So as you sit tall here, start with your eyes open. You can inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Inhaling and exhaling. With your next exhale, you can close your eyes and just let yourself start to feel what you've got going on around you. You can sit up nice and tall. Maybe lean back in your chair. Feel the support underneath you, behind you. Feel that just connectedness that you can have. Start to notice here the air on your skin. Any sounds around you. And then start to notice the sound of your breath just coming in and out through your nose. Feeling where your breath rises and falls. Maybe in your chest or your ribs or your belly. And if you're not feeling anything, you can just bring a hand to your belly. Just feeling yourself expanding and softening. And then start to notice how your body receives that breath. How it starts to soften with each round. Keep your attention on that flow of your breath. You may even feel your body start to, I call it the downshift, start to just relax. Maybe you feel your outer skin softening. You feel your jaw releasing. You can feel yourself sinking into the chair a little bit more. Just allowing yourself to notice, to pay attention on purpose. You'll notice the thoughts as they rise up. And just let them pass you by like clouds. recognize them, right? But let yourself just be. Being present on purpose, in the moment, letting go of judgment. So if your mind starts to wander, just gently bring it back. Giving yourself space to just be. Feeling your body just softening down, the breath filling you and emptying out slowly. And we'll take 3 more rounds of breath. And after that 3rd round of breath, you can start to blink your eyes open. If you want, you can interlace your hands, stretch your hands out in front of you, go side to side. That's it. Reach your arms overhead, move your head side to side. Good. And then come all the way back and just bring your hands back in front of your heart. So we up our self-care by slowing down. So many of those things are just slowing down. Taking time, practicing mindfulness, practicing being present. And so as we close today, I bow to you. We bow to each other. Namaste. And this has been Nicole Traum with Lee Health's Healthcare Hero Self-Care Moment. We'll be back tomorrow at 6:40 a.m. I hope you're watching. Namaste. Bye, guys.